What's up guys, Andre here, and today I want to build this checkout page for WP Pusher using Tailwind CSS. Now the design for this is by an amazing designer by the name of Steve Shoger. He has a video of how he took a design and incrementally made changes to it to make it look like what you see here. If you haven't already seen it, definitely go and watch that first. So here's the finished product that we will be building. I tried my hardest to respect the design decisions that Steve made, and it's also responsive. If you take a look, I just did some basic responsive stuff here, so it fits well in a small viewport. Okay, so I'm going to be using the same project I did for my other videos on Tailwind. So if you want detailed installation instructions, check out those videos. It's not very difficult. Let me give you a quick rundown. So just npm install Tailwind first, and then have a CSS entry point, which is right here in our case. And then go to your webpack file and just update that to make sure it refers to that CSS entry point. Point it to your Tailwind.js. And I also have a route for this specific page. And then here's the blank page, and we refer to the CSS entry point. So let's go ahead and do a split screen here. Hopefully this works out. And we'll close this. This is the finished product, but we're starting from scratch. And here is the browser. Let's see if this actually works. Just make a new div with BG blue, and let's just put some text in there. See if Tailwind works. And it does. Cool. Before I start, just keep in mind that I've already built this like I've shown you, so if it seems like I magically know what classes to use and where everything goes, that's just because I'm referring to the completed project in my other monitor. Okay, so let's go to the design. And the font he's using here is Lato. And if you look at the background, it's a very light gray. So we'll start with those two things. Back to our code. So in our body, let's make the background very light. And I'm going to define a new font stack here in the Tailwind config called WP Pusher. And we'll just make it Lato. So let's look for fonts here. Here we go. And let's just grab this one. Let's make a new one called WP Pusher. And we can just leave all this stuff. Let's just remove most of them. And at the top of the stack, I'm just going to put Lato. L-A-T-O. And let me just also make sure to import that from Google Fonts. There it is. And the weights we're using are 300 because there's a lighter font that we use, I think just once. 400 is normal and 700 is bold, and we're using italics as well. Let's also use the anti-aliased class, which just makes text render more nicely in, I think, Chrome. Alright, back to the design. Let's start with the nav here. Let's do this quickly so we can get to the more exciting part over here. So it looks to me that this nav is full width. It's not within a container, and there's just a little margin on the left and right. So I'm going to use Flexbox to justify content space between, so this goes on the left and this goes on the right. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so we can delete this. Let's make a new container. I like naming my stuff just so when I scroll through my document I know where I am, even though I'm not using it in my CSS. So I'm going to name it nav container, and I'm going to give it that left and right margin of, okay, 16 oh sorry, 16. I don't think 16 is defined in here. So let's look for margins. There it is. And the default only goes up to 8. I added this from a previous video. So let's go ahead and add 16 here. So 16 is what? 4 rems. Save that. Okay. So that should give it some nice margin on the left and right. Alright, so let's make another div. Let's call it navbar, again, just for naming purposes. And I'm also going to make it flex. Justify between, so it spaces out between left and right. Align center, so item center, so it's vertically centered. We'll give it a border bottom of 2 pixels, and the color of that is a light, border gray light. And let's give it some padding, PY8, and a margin bottom of 16. Now let's go ahead and add the logo. I'm just going to put an anchor tag, put an image tag in here, and it's within this directory. WP. Oh, I already have it in my project, in case you're wondering. Logo.png, logo, okay. And now I'm going to do the nav items. Let's go ahead and do that. It's going to be Flexbox as well. And they are bold. And the text is slightly smaller. And for the items, let's go ahead and make a container for the first one. And let's go ahead and make the first one. What's this called? The first one's called download. Let's see how this looks so far. Okay, so no, I don't want to update Java. So let's go ahead and make the other items in here. And let's put a class on this one. Just margin left of 10. 10? 10. I don't think I have. Okay, I don't have 10 defined, so let me change this first to learn more, and then let's define 10. So margin left 10. So 10 divided by 4, 2.5. Okay, cool. So that's spaced out nicely now. And let me just add the rest in here. And let me just sort of reset the link styling. So if I go into our CSS here, down here, we can just set text decoration to none. And let's just make it black. Text black. So we're using the Tailwind color. Okay, cool. There's actually one more item that I'm missing. It's this one, which is styled a bit differently, the account. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to copy this one and just move this up. That stays the same. It's called account. But let's add a few more classes on the anchor tag. px4, py3, rounded large, border size 2, colors black, and on hover, let's make the background black and the text white. And that looks good to me. Let's also put a hover color on these ones. So let me quickly do that here. Hover, text, gray, darker is good. And I'm going to do it for the rest of them too. Okay. Let's do it for the rest of them here. Okay, cool. So there's our menu. Oh yeah, and I also like closing my tags here. The ones I named I like closing. So this ends the nav bar, and this ends the nav container. And let's go back to the design and start the next section. So finally we are into this section, and I'm going to give it a name of checkout. So let's make a new section. Just move this up. Checkout. And let's give it a container, and let's center that container. And let me just put some text in here so I can illustrate what I'm about to do. Okay, so if you take a look, let me just make this a bit bigger for now. The container in Tailwind is just a max width of 1200, but that's too wide. If you look at the design again, this is somewhere around 892, 893 pixels. So I want to make my own container that is approximately that wide. So let's go ahead and do that. So if we go back to our code and back into our config, if we look for max width right here. So the closest one I found was this one, but we kind of need it somewhere in between. You can go ahead and just specify it directly in your CSS, but I want to kind of stick to the Tailwind way of doing things. So I'm going to make a new one called WP Pusher, and we'll refer to it like this: max WP Pusher. And I did the math and I did some calculations, and 56 rems is the closest to what we just measured in the design. So that, move this back, and then back in here we can do, instead of container, what was it again? Max WP Pusher. So max WP Pusher. And now this should be a bit smaller. And it is. I mean, it looks bigger in this case because it's a smaller size, but you can see that when it's wider, it looks about correct. Okay. Let me just delete this, and let me just close this as well, and check out. Okay, back to our design. I'm going to use Flexbox to lay this out, and this left side is going to be 2/3, and then this blue sidebar is going to be 1/3 in terms of width. So let's go ahead and do that. So the flex container, I'm going to name it panel.flex, and let's give it a margin bottom of 8. Okay. And the left one I'll call panel left. And like I said, that's going to be 2/3. It's going to be white. And let's just put some stuff in there so we can see it. And then the right one is going to be panel right with, actually that's not going to work. It's not going to work with the slashes. 1/3, oh, what happened there? 1/3 BG, okay, blue. We'll do it blue for now. And the text is going to be white. Put some stuff in there and see how it looks. Okay, it's looking pretty good. Go back to the design. In Steve's video, he picked a nice shadow, but luckily for us, that actually comes pre-baked with Tailwind. So all we have to do is give it a class, the whole panel, a class of shadow LG. And now you see you have a nice shadow there. Also, there's some rounded corners here. So we can't do it as a whole, we have to do it separately. Because if we do it as a whole, these corners will be rounded too, and we don't want that. But luckily for us, Tailwind makes it easy as well. So for this left panel, we want rounded corners on the left. So it's just rounded L. And rounded R for the other panel. You probably can't see that, but the corners are rounded. Okay, back to the design. What's next? So let's start with this section over here. And we can delete this. Actually, this whole thing has a form. So let's put that in a form first. So let's delete this and let's just make a form. And that's fine for now. And let's go ahead and make that heading. Let's do it h1 dot. Let's make the text 3XL. Let's make this font normal. Padding 10. I'm not sure if that's defined. We'll check in a second. There's a border. Gray light. Oh crap. These need dots. These need dots for Emmet to work. And it's called checkout. See if that works. Okay, so there's no padding 10. Back to our config. So for padding, and padding is 10 divided by 4, 2.5. 2.5, 10. There we go. Alright, what's next? Okay, let's divide everything into sections. So this will be a section, this will be a section, and then this will be a section. So let's go ahead and do that. So after the H1, let's make a new section. Give it padding of 10. And I'm going to overwrite the padding top because it's a bit much on the top. So I'm just going to put 8. And border B, border gray light. And then next we're going to do this section right here. So it's going to be Flexbox. And then we're going to align item center. So these two line up. So the flex items center and margin bottom of 4. And this is going to be the circle with the number in it. So let's do that in CSS. So the border is 2 pixels. Border blue. PY2, PX3, rounded full. Let's make it bold. Let's give it a margin. And let's give it a text blue. And this is going to have the number 1. And then the next item is just going to have, it's going to be slightly larger, your basic information. See how that looks. Okay, looking good. I think I forgot a dash here. And as you can see, we've been using just the Tailwind blue, but if you want to be specific, if you go into the design, just grab this blue, and then we can define that in our Tailwind CSS. So in here, so for colors, where is it? There it is. And I'm just going to copy what I have in my completed project and paste it in here. Let's put it right underneath here. And I named it blue WP pusher, and the green is this one over here. So let me save it. Okay, and let's go back into here and change all the blues. Let's see, there's one there, so border blue. So this is just a circle. That's fine, we can change that. WP pusher. And where else? This is, let's put the browser, where's the browser? There it is. Yeah, so this is this one over here. WP pusher. And that changes it, cool. And this one too, sorry. Okay, back to the design and let's see what's next. The form fields are next. And I'm going to use Flexbox for this, and we'll make sure it wraps. So we have this, this, and then this one will wrap to the next line. So let's go ahead and work on that. So in here, after this section, make a new one, flex wrap. And for these two text boxes, let's make them 50% each, and let's also put a label on them. So width 1/2, and let's put the label in here. So label, let's call it first name, class. Let's make a block because it's not blocked by default, it's inline by default. Text is smaller, and margin bottom. Sorry, the label is first name. Okay, now let's put the input box. So input, type is text, let's give it the ID of first name, and class. So let's give it full width. It's going to inherit from the parent, which is 1/2. It's a bit smaller. Background is gray. The text color is gray darkest. It's rounded, px3 and py3. Okay, let's see how that looks. Okay, looks good. Let's go ahead and copy this. Let's do it for the next one too. So this is last name. Last name. This one will be last name. And we'll worry about this in a second. Let's just do the third one for now. So I'm going to grab it. And we're going to make it 3/4 since it's on its own line. This is email. The type is email. And this is email. Email. Okay, let's put a margin bottom on this one. Say 4. Okay. And I don't like this blue outline that is added in Chrome. I don't think there's a utility to get rid of that yet in Tailwind, so let's make our own. So just over here, outline 0, outline 0. Save that, back into here, and for all our inputs, let's just put outline 0. Let's put it at the end. So outline 0. And they're gone. Cool. So let's fix these. Right now they're with 50 here, but since they're right up against each other, let's give them something slightly less than 50. So I'm going to make a new class called width 1/2, almost. Again, you don't have to do this. You can just define it in your CSS, but I'm going to do it this way. Let's go into our config. And so for width, where is it? Okay, so right here, with 1/2, almost, let's do 48%. Save that. And that worked, but now we have to put a margin left on this one. So let's go ahead and do that. So for the second one, which is this one, let's put a margin left of 4 to separate them. Cool. Okay, what's next? Back into our design. Let's work on this next section over here. Okay, so back into our code. And let's move on to the next section, which should be similar to this. Let's grab this. And then we'll make a new section here. Let's close the div. Let me smooth this up for you guys. And I'm going to grab this section as well, so your basic information. So this section will be the same. Okay. But this should be 2. And this should be payment information. See how that looks? Okay, let me close this. There you go. And let me just grab this email and we'll just use that for the credit card section. So right here. And let's make it full width. Let's call it payment. This will be text. This will be credit card. Okay, that looks good. I'm not gonna do this section because this actually comes from Stripe elements. You have to pull in a JavaScript package and you have to do some things to style it the way your form looks like. I actually have a video on this, so if you're curious how to do that, I will link to the video. Okay. What's next? Back to the design and to this section. Okay, back to our code. And I'm going to grab this again. And that starts right here. Let's close the div. And we don't need a border for this one because it's the last section. And I put the browser back. And this is the button. So let me just move this up. Button type equals submit. Class equals. So BG green WP pusher, like that color we defined. It's white. It's full width. It's rounded. PX4, PY4. Margin bottom of 6. Text large. Hover. BG green dark. And it's called by WP pusher. Okay, that looks good. Okay, what's next? This section over here. So again, we're going to use Flexbox over here. So this is one item, and this text is the other item. So let's go ahead and do that. All right. So right here after the button, we do flex item center. We can also center it since we're already using Flexbox, justify center, and margin bottom of 8. And I'm going to grab that SVG. I have it in here. public the question mark SVG. I have in a folder here. SVG, where is it? Question mark SVG. Let's grab this. Okay. And we paste that in. And let me re-indent. Cool. See how that looks. Actually, let's put in the text beside it. So after this, just put a div and just put some lorem text in here, just to see if it works. Okay. Let's give it a small margin after the SVG. Where's the SVG? Right here. Let's give it a class of MR2. Cool. And now let's work on the text here. So let's make a span. This part, need any help, is bolded. Then we have another span. Text gray darker. Don't hesitate to, there's a link, contact support. And there's an exclamation. And let's style that link. Text gray darker, underline, underline. All right. There you go. That looks pretty good to me. All right, back to the design. Let's just work on this copyright text since we're already at the bottom. So back into our code. Down here, I think I forgot to close my panel. Yeah, so let's close that. And panel, and this is where it goes. So let's give it a name of copyright. Text gray dark. Centered. It's a bit smaller. Let's give it a margin bottom of 8. And copy 2018 WP pusher IVS, and there's a mid dot there. Mid dot. There's a link. Class. It's blue, so text blue. Let's use that WP pusher one again. And terms of service. See how that looks. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, now let's work on this right section over here. Let's go back into the design and let's see how we can lay this out. So I think I'm going to do it in 2 sections. This is one and this is the other. So let's go ahead and work on it. Okay, so here I think is where the panel left ends. Yep. Okay, so let me just put a comment there. And let's go ahead and work on this section. Alright, so for the first section, the padding 10 like we've been giving everything else. And let's make a new heading here, H2, font bold, text extra large, margin bottom 4. Again, I forgot my dots. And freelancer. See how that looks? Okay, looks good. And what's next? Automatically renews after 1 year. Okay. New section. Give it a margin Oh, sorry, not automatically renews. It is the price. The price, the dollar sign, the price per year. Okay. So let's break this up. So the dollar sign would be, size is this size, text 2XL, and it's dollar. And then the dollars, actual dollars, the $99. Is there a 4XL? Not sure. Font light. It has a smaller font weight. And let's give that 99. And this last part, text large per year. See how that looks. Oh, sorry, there should be span. Okay, so there is no 4XL from what I see. Or is there? 4XL. There is. But after some calculations, I'm going to make a new one. Oh, sorry, not there. The closest one I can find is this. So 5.5, obviously that's not 48. And 5.5 is 4.125 rems. Okay. And back into our code. This one, 5.5. Okay, that looks good. The dollar sign should have a vertical alignment of a line top. Okay. And let's take a look at the design. That looks pretty good, except this top should be aligned. And it's not aligning in our code. And the only way to fix that, or at least the only way I found, was just to slightly lower the line height. So I have to add a custom class in our CSS called LHFix. And that just sets the line height to 0.75. And that aligns it. Cool. Alright, let's move on to the next section, which should be automatically renews after 1 year. Okay, so after this, new section, give it a margin. It's italic. It's not full width, it's 3/4. Let's give it a line height. Let's give it a margin bottom. Actually, there already is a margin bottom. Actually, this is the right one. And we don't need this one. Okay. So automatically renews after 1 year. Cool. Alright, looks good to me. What's next? Need 20 client sites, switch to agency plan. Okay. Actually, sorry. It's this section with the list items. So let's go ahead and work on that. Okay, so let's make a new section. Let's call it list items. And let's give it a margin bottom. And for each item, we're just going to use Flexbox so we can align it vertically. And give it a margin bottom. The SVG will go in there. Do that in a second. And let's just put the text in here. So use on 5 client sites. All right, let me just copy this. I think there was 3 sections. Okay, private repositories and email support. So private repositories and email support. I'm just going to grab the SVG. I have it in here somewhere. Check mark. Grab this and just paste it in. SVG and SVG. Cool. See how that looks. And yeah, I need a slight margin. So class is 2 enough. And let me just add that to the rest of them. Okay, what's next? Need 20 client sites, switch to agency plan. Cool. So I think this div ends the list items. Let me just double check. Yeah, it does. Okay. And list items. And let's work on the next section. Okay, let's give it a margin bottom of 10. Padding bottom of 2. MB2. Need 20 clients. I think 20 is bolded. Oops. Font bold. Actually, that should be a span. Okay. And this will be a link. Class is white. It's bold. Border B2. Border blue light. And let's make it switch to the agency plan. Okay, see how that looks? Okay, it looks pretty good. What's next? This horizontal rule. Okay, so after this, let's just make a class border B, border blue light. See how that looks? Okay, that looks good to me. And what's next? The quote and the avatar with the name. Okay, let's make a new section. Call it testimonial. And let's give it padding top, text large, it's italic. Let's give it some line height. Let's give it a margin bottom. And I'm going to paste that quote in, so I don't have to type it. And there's also a bold in there. See how that looks? That looks pretty good to me. And the next session is just that avatar. So let's go ahead and build that. Flex items center image slash image pusher avatar.png avatar class is the circle, so it's rounded full and slight margin. And the name, just give it a text large, font bold, Kirk Beard. And there you go. So that's looking pretty good and pretty close to our design here. Pretty happy with how it turned out. There's no responsive design, but let's just do a basic stack and then we'll call it a day. Shouldn't take too long. Okay, so remember how we set this to width 3/4 and with not 3/4, I think it was 2/3 and 1/3. So since Tailwind uses mobile first approach, we have to set it to full width on mobile and then pick a breakpoint and then make it these widths at that breakpoint. So I think start with the left panel. Yeah, panel left. Here it is. So we have to, I'm going to pick the medium breakpoint. You can use whatever you want. And then for mobile, we have to set it to width full. So same with the panel right. So width full and medium 1/3. Okay, see how that looks? Okay, so we know it worked. Let me just make this smaller. So, okay, so that didn't work. We have to also set the flex direction to column once it hits this size. So class equals panel right here. Sorry, not there. Here. So on mobile we want flex direction to be column, but on larger screens flex row, and that should work. There you go, now it's stacking. Let's see if it still works at desktop size. And it does, cool. See how it looks down here. Alright, it's looking pretty good. Let's see how it looks if you continue shrinking it. Okay, so to avoid this problem, let's just make it always stack once it hits the breakpoint. So where's that? First name. So here, let's just make it like that. And with 3/4 on mobile, I'm good with. Same with here. And with 3/4. See how that looks? And let's see if it, okay, so here it's already doing like that. Okay, cool. Let's just get rid of this margin left. So here, medium, but by default on mobile, none. And let's give this a margin bottom of 4, but on medium, none. Cool. And what else? Okay, the menu. I don't want to spend too much time on this. Let's just make it stack. So for this one, sorry, here, flex column, but medium flex row. Also give it some margin bottom, so margin bottom, say 4, and there, nothing. Sorry, that doesn't go there, that goes on the image. So right here, let's put it here. Class equals, cool. And same for here. And let's just put a class on this. All of them actually. Say 4, medium, large bottom 0. Okay, 4 is too much. 2 is good. Okay, so that for the rest of them. Oops. Let's get rid of the margin left 10 for mobile. So that should be only on the breakpoint. So by default, there's none. And this one has a larger margin bottom, say 8. Okay, so that looks pretty good to me. Let's see if the desktop version still works. And it does. Cool. So I just realized I forgot to add this image, so let me just add that quickly. Alright, so after contact support, just add a new section here. I think it's after this. Text center, and let's give it image. Image, WP pusher, powered by Stripe. Stripe. See how that looks? Alright, that looks good to me. Cool. So there you have it, guys. We managed to build out this checkout page using Tailwind CSS. I'll make the code available on GitHub as well as CodePen, as I always do. Let me know if you want to see me code up the other design that Steve's done on his channel. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one. Okay, thanks. Bye.